Good evening, tennis fans. My name is Shane Terry, and I'm coming at you. Oh, good evening, tennis fans. My name is Shane Terry, and I'm coming at you with some tennis news updates, everything tennis, scores, results, and just current events that have been happening in the professional tennis world. This is both the ATP and WTA tours that I'll be talking about. And this is a channel, series, show, whatever you want to call it. This is something that I've been wanting to start. And I just figured, why not start off 2021 with something new? Tennis has always been something that's been, um, a very big passion of mine. And I just figured, like, why not do something like this for fun? Like, tennis is always something that I'm looking into. I'm always following the scores. I'm always watching tennis. I'm always, just learning new things about tennis. I'm also a tennis player. I played tennis while I was in college. I played tennis, since the age of, I started playing tennis when I was about 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old. And it's just something that I've become very passionate about throughout the years. And now that I am 23 years old, I'm not really playing tennis as much. I would like to play tennis more, but I just figured this is a way for me to express my passion, but just in a different light. And, we'll just see where this goes. Hopefully people like it. And, I'm just doing this really for fun. And I have some topics that I wanted to talk about today, but before I get into it, I just wanted to just give a little disclaimer that this is like tennis news. So I will be giving out, news that I see on different platforms, while I'm scrolling through my phone. I might, get an alert or, just like different things that I see while I'm scrolling through. Now, I'll also be giving my opinion on the things that I speak about. And I just hope that this can create a forum for other people to get involved in the conversations that I start, and or topics that I might talk about. So with that being said, I want to start talking about some of the things that I had found. And these are just current events that have been happening in professional tennis. So let's just get right into it. And I will be talking about ATP and WTA. And for those that don't know, the ATP is just the men's professional tennis tour, and then the WTA is just the women's professional tennis tour. And those are the two associations that govern, the men's and women's tennis players. So, one of the first topics that I wanted to talk about was, and it's been very controversial, and it's been a very big thing in the tennis community that I've been noticing, is that they ended the WTA and ATP live apps. And for those of you that might be watching and might not know what that is, the WTA/ATP Live Scores app is an app that a lot of tennis fans have been using for over the past decade. And what this app does is it allows tennis fans to follow scores, live scores of tennis matches that are happening all over the world. It allows them to look at the tennis schedule for both the men's and women's tours. It also allows them to look at the rankings. And there's a few other things that the app will allow you to follow as it pertains to professional tennis. But at the end of 2020, to be exact, I believe it was December, it was announced that the app would no longer be updated. As of 2021, it would no longer operate. So, so at current time, there is an app that you can download, but there are no longer any more updates that will occur to the app. So right now, if you have the app downloaded on your phone, for the ATP, it will redirect you to the ATP's own app. So I guess the ATP has developed its own app, but you can only access content from the ATP. So if you're looking for WTA scores, you won't find that on that app. And the original WTA ATP Live Scores app will direct you to the WTA website where you can access scores and just different information that you'd want to access. But the thing that the app did that was so convenient for people is that you could quickly access scores, and it was just really easy. Like, it was a very accessible app for the majority of people, and that's why so many people have been annoyed by them not continuing to use the app. And one of the biggest issues, in my opinion, with this is the fact that they haven't really developed or found another app that is similar, you know, is all encompassing and has all those features that so many people loved about the previous one. They haven't really developed an app that can really replace it yet. So there are other options that you can use at the moment, but there isn't one app like the one that I'm mentioning that is really able to, replace it. So, we hope that they can develop one um, soon. And one of the things that's been very difficult, especially to the start. Now, granted, it's only been a week into the season, so we're only on our first week of the new 2021 season. However, it has been very difficult for tennis fans to keep up with live scores and to keep up, what matches are happening this day and when are they happening. It was just very easy to look on on the old WTA and ATP app to look at schedules, scoring, rankings, just all that information that was just right at the tip of your fingers is now like it's all scattered. You have to go to this website, you have to go to that website, you have to use this app. It was just very easy to use that one app. So a lot of people have been complaining about it. Players, and fans alike have been complaining about the lack of an app. But we hope that one will get developed soon. Um, Tennis Channel actually tweeted out on the 29th of December that they would be rolling out a whole new app coming this year. They didn't say exactly when, but we can assume that it should be soon. With everything that's happening with the old app. So that's it on that particular subject. So the next subject that I wanted to talk about that's been very um has been trending a little bit in the tennis community is the tennis player Christian Harrison, ranked 789 currently. He makes his first career semifinal at Delray Beach in California, I believe. At the age of 26. This is his first semifinal that he's reached at the age of 26. Um, and on his run to the semifinals, he defeated world number 22 Christian Garin in the second round to advance to the quarterfinals. He's now in the semifinals. Another thing that's impressive about his run to the semifinals is not only is it his first time doing so, but he also came to the qualifying to get into the main draw. So, he got those extra matches in, and now he's into the semifinals where he will. I wrote it down. Oh, he will play Huber Hurkacz. I hope I said that right. He'll play Huber Hurkacz in the semifinals for a place in the final tomorrow on Wednesday. His run in Delray Beach has also come with controversy due to in his win over Garin in the second round, he was fined $3,000 for not wearing a mask. And this was all due to post match. Post match players have on-court interviews, and he was required to wear a mask in order to conduct the interview, and he refused to wear the mask because for whatever reason, he just did not want to wear the mask after to conduct the interview. So after that match, he was fined $3,000. And in his next round, his quarterfinal match, he, abided by the rules and he actually did wear the mask. So there was just a little bit of controversy as to him not wanting to wear the mask and all that. I mean, I don't understand, in my opinion, I don't understand why it was such a big deal for him to just put the mask on and just conduct the interview. The interviews are usually only like a couple minutes long, so for him to wear a mask, it really wasn't that serious. So I'm just not really sure that whatever his justification was for not wearing a mask, was it really valid? I mean, it could have been, but it really wasn't in the grand scheme of things. It wasn't that. I feel like it wasn't that serious for him to not wear it. Um, but he got fined $3,000, so hopefully that would be enough for him to just wear it in the future. Moving right along, the next thing I wanted to talk about, and this is just a really small thing to add on, but this is gonna get more into the okay, I guess I'll John Isner. There was just a report that came out that John Isner has decided that he will not compete in the Australian Open in 2021. And the same goes for Roger Federer. They both have stated that they would not be traveling to Australia to play the Australian Open due to personal reasons and wanting to not be away from their families for that long. And I can commend them for doing so, especially with the pandemic and making everything so much more difficult, being away from your family for that amount of time. And just with everything being up in the air, I just could, understand and relate as to why they'd rather just spend that time with their families and also just train and just keep working on their games during that time that they won't be competing in the Australian Open. And we look forward to them coming back onto tour. Move on to WTA news, and then we'll talk about the Australian Open because there's been a lot of controversy surrounding that event. So in terms of the WTA side of things, just a couple things that I wanted to talk about is that the WTA, they kicked off their season in Abu Dhabi this week. So they played their first event there. And it was a little controversial, not really controversial, but there were some questions that I seen like surrounding the event. And one of the main things is that the event doesn't have an official sponsor. It doesn't seem like, and I read something somewhere that the WTA had actually put up all the prize money. I don't know exactly if that's true, but I had seen something that said that the WTA had actually had to put up the money for this event. So, all the money that the players are playing for this week in Abu Dhabi is from the WTA and that organization. So I don't know exactly how true it is, but that was just something that I read and I thought that was interesting. So it does speak to the WTA really making an effort to put on tournaments and encouraging players to compete during this difficult time and in the pandemic. So I guess kudos to the WTA, although I wish they did do a little bit more in terms of trying to make following the scores easier because it isn't really the most organized at the moment.
No, 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 no shade. Um,
But we hope that things will improve quickly. Just talking about the WTA in Abu Dhabi, we got through that. We are through to the final of that first event of 2021 for the women, and the final will be contested between Aria Sabalenka and Veronika Kudermetova. Hopefully, I pronounced their names correctly, and for anyone that has an issue with the way that I pronounce their names, I sincerely apologize. I tried. The final will be contested on Wednesday, January 13th, and it should be a good match as both players have, played really well throughout the week from what I've been able to gather and what I've been able to watch on TV. Sabalenka is looking to win her 15th straight match as she has she won her last two tournaments of 2020 and she is into the final this week. So she's on a 14 match winning streak currently, and if she wins tomorrow, it will be her 15th straight match, and we'll see how that goes. So more WTA news. WTA top 30 player Amanda Anisimova. Reports came out that she has unfortunately tested positive for the coronavirus. So This obviously will put her Australian Open chances of playing there, will put them in jeopardy. She just found out that she had tested positive um, right after the draw was made for Abu Dhabi this week, so she was forced to withdraw. And now her hopes of playing the Australian Open are just, hanging in the balance, but we'll see what happens there. Just for the tennis fans out there that might have watched some of the tennis this week in Abu Dhabi on the WTA side, in the comments if anybody would like to just, talk about their first impressions and, who might have surprised them this week and what they're looking forward to the most coming up in the next couple weeks and then just for the rest of the year on the WTA side. It should be a very interesting year, especially with the coronavirus and all that entails, with organizing the tennis events and just, keeping the players safe. It will be interesting to see how things progress throughout the upcoming year. So now, the bulk of what I wanted to talk about on this episode is the Australian Open 2021. And for those of you who might not know what that is one of the four major tournaments in professional tennis. It offers um, it's what they consider a grand slam, and it offers the most ranking points to the winner and also the most prize money to players. And these are some of the most. There's four, and they're the most prestigious tournaments on the calendars on both the ATP and WTA sides. So if you can perform well here at these events, you will be awarded very well for your efforts. The event is supposed to be contested in February this year, at the beginning of February, so it had to get pushed back due to COVID concerns, but it looks like the event is going to happen as of right now. According to an article I found on The Guardian, in 2021, players and staff all alike will face some of the strictest rules ever to be held at a tennis tournament in the world. For obvious reasons, with COVID and everything, there have been a lot of regulations and rules placed to try and keep, everyone safe and also just to put on a successful event. Just to get into some of the requirements for the players to even come into Australia. So I read a report that in order for players to even get on the plane to Australia, which is like a 25-hour flight, players are required to test negative. And that goes without saying. Obviously, you want to test negative before you get on a plane all the way to Australia. And then once they get to Australia, they are required to undergo 14 days of mandatory quarantine in one of the three designated hotels that they have specified, particularly for the Australian Open. And then there's also another location in Australia where some of the top players will be staying in Adelaide, where they'll hold a separate exhibition tournament for the players to warm before they go to Melbourne. Um, and then just to get into some of the regulations that they have for the players once they are in Melbourne, um, players can only leave their room for 5 hours per day, and that is just for the players. As it pertains to staff and other people that are staying there for the tournament in particular, they have to stay in their rooms during that quarantine period. For the players, they can leave their room for up to 5 hours a day, but they can only attend dedicated training venues. They can only train after a day of 2 negative tests, and players are going to be tested daily. So they are really going to try to be on top of testing and just trying to manage, because it's a lot of players that will be on the there's a lot of players that are going to be coming in, and tennis is an international sport. So they're going to have players flying in from all over the world. And this was one of the very big concerns that they had in regards to the event and, putting on the event. But it looks like, they're reassuring us that the event is going to be a successful one, and they're going to try their best to do it as safely as possible. Which brings me to that as of today, Tuesday, January 12th, Two players have tested positive for the virus after 2 days of qualifying. And I didn't mention this at the beginning, but they are currently playing qualifying. And for anybody that follows tennis, you know that qualifying for a Grand Slam is usually played the week prior to the actual main draw of the event. But this year they pushed the qualifying a few weeks before so that players, once they get to Melbourne, can actually quarantine and just make sure that that they're negative for the virus. But as of Tuesday, January 12th, as I said, two players have tested positive for the virus. I wasn't able to find who one of them was, but the other one was actually reported to be an American player, which I'll get into in a moment. But I just wanted to get into the actual qualifying. So the Australian Open organizers have actually managed to get the qualifying played in two separate locations. One of the locations is in Dubai, where the men are competing for main draw spots, and then the women are competing in Dubai. Did I say Dubai? The men will be competing in Doha. I hope I said that. And then the women are competing in Dubai for chances at main draw slots. And I thought that was really interesting because they're two separate locations. But in the grand scheme of it all, I feel like maybe it was a wise choice to just do it that way. So that it gives players the opportunity to get to Australia and follow protocol and procedure. The player who tested positive, I thought this was really interesting because the player who tested positive, his name is Dennis Kudla. He's a top 100 American player, or he used to be a top 100 American player. I can't remember. Um, I haven't really followed much of his career, but I do know of him. I found this interesting because it's been reported that Dennis Kudla was playing his first round match of qualifying, and he actually received his test result mid match. So it was in the final game of his first round match that he received the news that he had tested positive. So I thought that was very interesting because I thought that players were supposed to test negative before even flying to Australia, but somehow Um, he got his results mid match, and they came back that he tested positive, and they actually allowed him to finish the match before he was forced to withdraw. So I just found that interesting because they're trying to keep all the players safe as possible, and they're trying to do everything that they can to make this a safe event. But they allowed him to complete the match after having knowledge that he had tested positive. So I don't know if that was the right move, but that is what occurred. And he did withdraw after that match. Little notes that I wanted to end, just the whole Australian Open thing. I want to know, like, do people think that it is wise that they're holding such a large event? Because I read a report that although tickets were gonna be sold, they're gonna be sold to 35% of Melbourne Park's population. Well, Melbourne Park's capacity. So that would allow them to sell up to 400,000 tickets. Well, 400,000 fans would be allowed in. That would be the maximum capacity that they could hold and still follow COVID protocol. Um, and that still seems like a lot of people. Like 400,000 is a lot of people. So I'm just very interested to see how they're going to manage that and how everything's going to play out, because it's going to be very hard to maintain um, that amount of people and manage it over the 2 week span while also trying to keep the staff and the players safe. So it's just going to be a very interesting couple of weeks. The Australian Open does start on February 8th, and it will take place over a 2 week period. Um, so I guess we'll see. I'm very interested to see how um, the players react. I'm very interested to see, how just how everything goes. Um, and I'll definitely be watching, and I hope that you guys like this video. If you do like this video, please give my channel a subscribe, like the video, comment down below, and also in the comments, if you do, just please like give your opinions. Maybe give me some ideas on topics that you would like to hear more about, because I definitely want to do more videos like this. And yeah, so I hope everyone stays safe. I hope everyone has a good night, or day, whenever you're watching this, and everyone be blessed. Thank you for watching, and yes.